فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. In the book al-Umdah, in Sifat al-Salah, in the description of the Salah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we're at the time for ruku'. So we discussed at the beginning what to recite, how to do it, how to raise the hands, when to raise the hands, and now the person he goes in to ruku', whether man or woman. And here there is no khilaf. Ibn Qudamah, he says, then one puts his hands on his knees with the fingers spread, straightens the back, and his head is level with his back. And it's very important. So when you go into ruku', we talked about raf'ul yadayn and making the takbir. When you go into ruku', we see some of the brothers and sisters, they keep their fingers closed. When they put their fingers on their knees, they keep them closed. But what we find in the Sahih Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is he would space his fingers when putting them on his knees in ruku'. And we see some of the brothers and sisters, and I will demonstrate, I might cut out of the camera a little bit, but they go into ruku' and they put their hands in where their sides are touching. And we don't see this on the sunnah, rather to keep your sides straight and the back to be straight in line. You don't make it where your head is lower than your back or your head is higher, to make straight. And we'll discuss the ahadith on this issue. But the first thing is the ruku'. What is the hukam on it? Is the ruku' from the arkan of salah? Is it wajib? Is it mustahab? Is it mubah? We have to know these things. So according to ijma' al-ulama, yani consensus, and this is in istilah a very important term to understand. Ijma' yani consensus across the board, not just ittifaq or jamhur, la, ijma', that the ruku' is an essential part of the salah. Here I will mention the books like that of the Madhab al-Hanafi, Mukhtasar al-Quduri, for the Malikiyya, Mukhtasar al-Khalil, for the Shawafi', all of the books you can look, but especially that al-Majmu' of Imam al-Nawawi, for the Hanabila, Zad al-Mustaqni' or Umdah, or any of the other books. You find that all of the ulama have said this is an order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Qur'an, and there are mutawatir ahadith that Rasulullah he performed the ruku' and ordered it. So there is no disagreement amongst the ulama of Islam that ruku' is an essential element of salah. And I will mention the hadith briefly from Sahih al-Bukhari about the man radiyallahu anhu, Sahabi. He came to the masjid and he made salah. And when he was coming out, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told him, Salli falam tusalli. Go back and make salah, for you have not made salah. Man, he made salah. He came back a second time. Rasulullah told him, go pray, you haven't prayed. A third time, Rasulullah told him, go pray, you haven't prayed. Then the man said, this is the salah I know. Then when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam explained to him why his salah was batil, why his salah was as if he didn't make salah at all, he told him one of the things. It's a long hadith, I'm mentioning what's muta'alliq bid-dars al-yawm, is that he told him, make ruku' until you are calm in it. So what we find a lot today is brothers or sisters, they make salah, they get ruku' and they're up. Gives you whiplash watching it. If you make ruku' like that, it is as if you didn't make salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling the man, go back, you didn't even make salah. So you may make 100 rak'ah, but you didn't make a single salah. So what are you going to do? Just good workout? Go jog instead. So this is very important, because some things in salah, they don't invalidate your salah. Where you fold your hand, it doesn't invalidate your salah. Right? Whether you make Raf' al-Yadayn in the ruku or not doesn't invalidate your salah. Whether you say Ameen bil-Jar or doesn't invalidate. So those are still important, but some things will make your salah batil. And not making ruku properly will make your salah batil, so be careful. And that's why many Sahih hadith, they mentioned that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make a very long ruku. And he would be very calm in it. Even long, like as he's standing before ruku. Imagine in the hadith of the Qiyam al-Layl of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would read Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran and Surah Al-Nisa and other long surahs. And then his ruku would be like his qiyam. Imagine that. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That's a salah. That's why in 8 rak'ah or 11 rak'ah altogether, they would make half the night or most of the night. But today, we have the hen pecking type sujood and the I'm in a rush, where people, especially getting up from ruku, they get in ruku and before they're even standing, they go into sujood. Makes your salah batil. Makes your salah batil. So here, we look at this as an agreed upon issue. Ibn Qudama, rahmatullah alayhi, he continues to mention that Rasulullah used to spread his fingers. And what is the dalil for that? We don't just say, like Shaykh Fulan said, no. Go back to the kitab of Allah, the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The dalil here is in Sahih al-Bukhari, in the hadith that he mentioned when Rasulullah used to put his hand on his knees, he would straighten the back and his hands would be spread. And he would make his back, in the hadith in al-Bukhari, his back would be straight. At-Tabrani, he has also a Sahih narration, where he mentioned that Rasulullah made ruku', he would spread his back until it was level, that if water was poured on it, it would stay there. SubhanAllah. Yani, imagine, if you put water, if your balance is a little bit off, it pours off, it goes off. So here the Sahaba, radiyallahu anhum, they're saying when Rasulullah made ruku', his back was so straight, it wasn't that it was bent this way or that way, that if water was poured, it would stay. And that is the beautiful ruku' of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are many ahadith on this, and no doubt we could mention many. But I will mention a few just for the sake of time. There is a hadith Ibn Khuzaymah mentions, and it is sahih, it is an authentic hadith, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw a man praying without completing his ruku'. He was being fast, he didn't completely go at even ruku'. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told him, this is like when you are pecking in sujood or making the ruku' like this. If this man was to die in this state, he would die on a deen, on a faith other than that of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this man, he's a Muslim. He's making salah, but he's rushing the ruku'. He's rushing his sujood. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says about this man, the Sahih hadith, that if he was to die in this state, he would die on a religion other than that of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he forbid that you peck in your salah like the crow pecks at blood, or you make ruku' the way that this man was making ruku'. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the long hadith, but he mentions that the one who prays like this is like the hungry man who eats 1 or 2 dates which do him no good. And when you're really starving and you eat a little something, you're still hungry. Yani he's trying, he's doing something, but there's no salah. So we need to be very careful. Now, we see some of the ulama and tullab ilm telling our sisters that you don't have to make your back straight in ruku'. You just make a little ruku'. But if you look at these ahadith, they're aam. They're aam. And by telling women that you don't need to make salah like the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when there's no dalil to differentiate in the ruku' of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the women, they are making women make salah in a way that is not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you are not making your ruku' correctly, your salah is batil. So if somebody has a dalil from Aisha or any of the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that women don't need to make ruku' like this, bring the dalil. If not, then the women need to make ruku' like a man makes ruku'. Because when there is dalil, we differentiate. For example, if a man makes a mistake, what does a man say? He says, Subhanallah. If he knows the ayah, the imam forgets, he says the ayah. If the woman notices a mistake, what does she do? She claps. She doesn't go, no applause, but with her hands, she claps. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ differentiated these things. For the woman, he said you clap. For the man, you say subhanallah. So this difference between the salah of a man and woman is proven. We believe it. But other people say you don't sit tawarrukan, you don't sit like this, you don't sit iftirashan, you don't do this. Where is the dalil? Bring the dalil from the sahih ahadith, then we talk. Until then, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam salah is for men and women both. Unless there is a dalil to separate between them. Tayyib. What do you recite in ruku'? Most of us know Subhana Rabbil A'la or Subhana Rabbil Azim in ruku' and Subhana Rabbil A'la in sujood. And these adhkar are mentioned by Ibn Qudama in al-Umdah, and there are many sahih ahadith for this, and no doubt that these are established. And this is the opinion of all of the madahib, as mentioned, Mukhtasar al-Quduri of the Ahnaf, Mukhtasar al-Khalif the Malikiya, al-Majmu'ah for Imam al-Nawawi for the Shawafi'ah, Zad al-Mustaqni, al-Umdah, and other books for the Hanabila. There is no doubt about this. But I do want to mention something. There are many adhkar for a ruku', for a sujood, for tashahhud, after your regular tashahhud, the adhkar you make in addition. And it's very sad to see brothers and sisters leave all those adhkar. So even though, as the matan mentions, I'm mentioning Subhana Rabbil Azim, and no doubt you have to say it. And this is from the wajibat of salah, to at least say it once, and a minimum complete is 3. But I do want to also encourage our brothers and sisters to learn other supplications, other ones that are established from the Prophet ﷺ. And there are little books in dua you can get, and as long as they are sahih from the Prophet ﷺ, no alim objects you to switch up some of the adhkar and make additional adhkar to Subhana Rabbil Azim and Subhana Rabbil A'la and other things like that. Now, if you make other adhkar, do you still have to say Subhana Rabbil Azim or no? Yes. At minimum, one time. The minimum complete, like when you're making a salah, the minimum complete 3 times. And then you can make more than that in an odd number. And we'll discuss in sujood about the max and min. But even if you make other adhkar, you cannot leave Subhana Rabbil Azim. But that doesn't mean you only make Subhana Rabbil Azim. Learn other adhkar, and there are many, and use them in your ruku' and your sujood. But one thing you cannot do in ruku' and sujood is read Qur'an. Because there is a sahih dalil. In ruku' and sujood, you do not read Qur'an. Now somebody may say, Subhana Rabbil Azim, when you look at this, if we mention this in the Qur'an, so what? What about that? We say here you're using it as a dua. Even if the amr is in the Qur'an, but this is as a dua. And any ayah of Qur'an, if it's also a dua, reading it with the niyyah of dua is jaiz. But qira'at al-Qur'an in ruku' and sujood is not jaiz. Tayyib. As we mentioned, Al-Hajjawi and others have mentioned that the minimum, like if you're in a real big rush, is once. But the least complete amount is 3. And this is something that is established across the board from ulama. And as we mentioned, the hadith from Sahih Muslim, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us he's been forbidden from reciting Qur'an in ruku' and sujood. Now we get up from ruku'. We completed the ruku' and now we want to stand up from it. Ibn Qudama rahmatullah alayhi, he mentions, and the person, he raises their hands. He makes the raf'ul yadayn, he raises the hands and says, Sami Allahu liman hamida. Sami Allahu liman hamida, very beautiful dua. Because you're saying Sami'a, hears Allah. He is the fa'il here. He is the one who hears. Who does he hear? Liman, the one, hamida. The one who makes hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listens to the one who praises Allah. And what do you say right after that? Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Subhanallah, what a beautiful set. You say that Allah listens to the one who praises Him, and then immediately you obey that and you praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Saying, Sami Allahu liman hamida, this is called a tasmi'. A tasmi' is this. And then to say Rabbana wa lakal hamd, this is a tabheed, and we'll discuss that inshallah coming up. What is the hukm on saying Sami Allahu liman hamida? There is khilaf of ulama. Some of the ulama, like the Ahnaf and the Malikiyah, they said this is mustahab. That it is mustahab to say that. And that is the opinion given in Mukhtasar al-Quduri and for the Ahnaf and the Mukhtasar al-Khalil for the Malikiyah. And this is also the opinion taken by al-Nawawi amongst the Shawafi' in al-Majmu'. And the dalil for this is they say in the hadith where the man did not pray properly. He did not make his salah properly, and we discussed in al-Bukhari. When the Prophet ﷺ showed him the correct salah, he didn't mention saying Sami Allah liman hamida. So that means this is mustahab. It's not obligatory. There's a second opinion, which is that it is wajib. Not from the arkan, but wajib. It is obligatory to say Sami Allahu liman hamida in salah. And this is the opinion of the Hanabila, Al-Jawi, Indad al-Mustaqni' and others. Now, what is the dalil for this opinion? He mentioned the hadith, which is sahih, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that no one's salah is complete unless they perform wudu. And when he continues in that the hadith, he says, and they say Sami Allahu liman hamida, that the salah is not complete until you say Sami Allahu liman hamida, like the salah without wudu. So now, is that mustahab, or is that something you must do? Here Rasulullah connected them. And then in many other ahadith, Rasulullah gave the order, amr, to say it. As Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen in Sharh Umdah al-Mustaqni', he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he continued to say Sami Allah liman hamida in every salah that we find. We never found him neglecting this. Therefore, if you look at this, put together by the fact that Rasulullah sallallahu gave the order to say Sami Allah liman hamida and said the salah is not complete without saying Sami Allah liman hamida, then it shows it to be wajib. But now, what about the first dalil? About the man, the Bedouin? What do you say about that? We don't just give one dalil on one side. We want to look at everything from all sides. So the answer there is that the Prophet ﷺ taught the Bedouin what he was making a mistake in. In that hadith in al-Bukhari, Rasulullah ﷺ didn't teach him takbiratul ihram. He didn't teach him taslim. So that doesn't mean that those aren't obligatory parts of the salah, as all of the madhahib agreed that they're obligatory. Rather, what he was doing wrong in his ruku and his sujood and his moving too fast, Rasulullah taught him that. But what he was doing correctly, he doesn't have to teach him again. So what is clear as day from the Sahih Ahadith, from the Amr of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the Fi'l of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that saying Sami Allah liman hamida is wajib. It is obligatory in the salah. If you leave it out on purpose, your salah is batil. If you leave it out on accident, you have to make sujood sahu, and we'll discuss the arkan and wajibat and how to fix them later on, inshallah ta'ala. But this is what is clear from the dalil. Inshallah, we'll discuss Rabbana wa lakal hamd and the different forms of it and how to say it and whether somebody folds the hands or leaves the hands after ruku'. Inshallah ta'ala, and next Saturday it's going to be a very important dars. We encourage everybody to come. Jazakumullahu khairan.
إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله